President Muhammadu Buhari recently approved the extension of the border closure, which began on the 21st of August this year, to now last until January 2020. And so far, there have been reactions from international observers, from the International Monetary Fund, from neighboring countries with Nigeria, as well as from Nigerians, and their reactions have largely bordered on the gains and whatnot of this border closure, which some say has really affected production in Nigeria, as well as when we talk about commerce, trade, and security. But while we are still talking about these issues, let's go a bit deeper to analyze some of the issues arising as Nigeria's borders will remain closed, partially closed, until January 2020. And to do justice to this topic, I have my panelists in the studio. Of course, you will get to meet them right after this break. Don't go away. I am Dotun Oguyemi. Thanks for joining us. Glad to have you back on the program. And like I told you, I have my panelists right here in the studio. One of them is Martins Abiodun, a system engineer.
Thank you.
And I'm also being joined by Jaosime Olusegun. I'm right?
Yes.
All right. He is a psychologist and public analyst. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining me on the program.
Thank you.
Now, let's talk about this border closure. I want to just quickly ask, so far, so good. Do you share the opinion of the Nigerian federal government when they say that the border closure has been overwhelmingly successful?
Yeah, let me start like this. One of the best policies that this federal government have been making from the inception of their regime, this is one of the best one that will actually affect the future of Nigeria. According to Taishulari, it said, and I quote, that may your road be rough. It's going to be difficult at the beginning, but the end will be sweeter and better for every one of us. I so much appreciate this policy, and I'm in line with them.
Chelsea, what do you think?
Yes, I think same here. For everything that will have, a good outlook, there is always odds to face, and because I think the last time something like this happened was in 1985, and then if we go back to history, I will say that there was significant, progress, after the decision was made by the federal government then, so it's a welcome one. I so much support it.
But with every good policy that comes from different administrations that have ruled Nigeria, we often see that there might be loopholes in some of these policies. We talk about, and we're talking about the border. Are you not concerned about some of the issues that are rising? We have some porous borders across Nigeria. There's corruption, there is smuggling and all of that. How do you react to this, especially looking at the point of view of businessmen and women who largely depend on these borders for their businesses, trade within countries?
Let me say this. I think the issue of ban on importation, especially on food items like rice, was made in 2015 by the government. And if we look between that time and now, you will see that there were no, much criticism, as we have it today. So that shows that today, between now and this August, that we have a partial closure of the border. It shows that government are trying, to ensure that all these loopholes, and smugglers and likes were not given the opportunity, that we have now a strong border control system, compared to what we used to have.
And they're also looking at using technology in the future to check, some of these things compared to the manual system that we currently have in place?
That would be a very good idea to use technology to survey the area, because many occasions when we send our soldiers or our custom officers to go and search those perimeter, it might be at the detriment of their lives, because some of these smugglers, they are well equipped and are ready to face the battle. With this one, we will have been well prepared to face the challenges ahead. With this, it will save a lot of lives and other things. With that, I think it's a good idea for federal government putting in technology to survey the area.
And this has also had some ripple effects for the Nigerian economy. The customs is saying it has generated even more revenue since these borders have been closed. Some are saying it should remain closed for as long as the Nigerian government wants to close it. Some are saying it shouldn't remain closed for that long. And one of the reasons is because one of the staple food which Nigerians consume, which is rice, is largely imported. But the Nigerian government is saying that it wants to improve local manufacturing of this same commodity, but we cannot compare what is being manufactured locally right now to what the quantity that we actually need, which is in terms of our demand. How do we resolve these issues?
A child doesn't work in a day. That's to crawl. I've been eating rice with stones since the last 2 months, and I'm ready to bear it. This is a thing we need to bear, because the end will better the future of our children and our siblings thereafter. But if you start looking into the present situation, present challenges, we might not get it right. Not only rice, all other products, cosmetics, and etc. We should encourage our local producers. I was so ashamed of myself yesterday. I was going to my house, and I had somebody advertising a product saying that it's from Ghana. I was like, are we not so ashamed of ourselves, thinking that something product from outside our country is better than ours? It's not possible. We have a lot of brains, we have a lot of competent hands here that can do things right. But if you don't encourage them, they won't do it. And apart from that, it will create more employment for our people. Because if you encourage my product to be striving in the market, I'll be able to increase my employment. I will increase the number of people I employ into my company. But if you continue to make it stringent for me to do that, I'll have to pull out of the game. Yes, some people will be saying things against this policy because they are benefiting from the smuggling things. But if the federal government wants to actually look into a policy that will benefit the future of this country, they should remain firm on this policy. It's going to be challenging. Many of their siblings will also be affected. They have to focus. They have to be focused on this. Let it be a policy that would remain. It might be changed, but there must be rules that will not allow free influx of products into the country. There must be rules that will guide it. And with that, let me just quickly cite this example. We've all learned in our economics when we were in secondary school. When you want to encourage your local producer, you increase the tariff you put on those people, products that are coming into the country. For you to encourage your people, these are policies. Policies you have to put on ground to assist our local producers. We have cosmetics, we have pharmaceutical products within our country that can be even better than those ones from outside this country. We have to encourage these local producers.
Jawusimi, apart from food, we also have concerns that the Nigerian government is trying to prevent in terms of the security challenges we're having, proliferation of firearms. Even persons can just walk across Nigeria's borders without proper identification. Nobody knows anybody coming around. How do you see this policy improving security?
Well, I say, let me, once again appreciate the federal government. I think the policy was initially to encourage indigenous productions, but in the process, we discovered that there's correlation, between the ban and the closure of the border and the security challenges we're having. take for instance, between August and now, you hardly hear in the news that Boko Haram or terrorists, operate somewhere. So that shows that the border, has been so porous that people, have the liberty, to now bring, not even smuggling, because it's like they have the liberty to bring in firearms, nobody to check, I think the border system we operate is an open border system, and the open border system most time comes with serious challenges, and part of the challenges is border controls. When you operate an open border system, the border control most time are not too active. I'm talking about the laws, the restrictions, the check and balances that were supposed, to be taking place at the border. But because the federal government said, okay, now I think this is time, to have a conditionally open border system, and I think that's where we are still going, because like, I listened to the DG last time, was saying that it's a phase by phase, process. So that shows that they are still testing it. So it's a good one, and it's obvious, unlike so many steps that are taken by the military to see how they can curb or stop or reduce terrorist activities. But between August and now, you can see that Boko Haram are not, the bombing is not like before, killings and the likes. So I will encourage the government, continue after the expiration of this particular phase.
All right, but another issue, Martin, that I want to quickly talk about is the economic aspect. Nigeria signed the African Free Trade Continental Agreement, and this partial closure, some are saying, is somewhat like putting, sort of like a peg on some of the activities that agreement is actually supposed to encourage. How do you see all of this panning out, especially when we look at neighboring countries of Benin, Ghana, and all of that, saying, goods cannot now move freely from Nigeria to their countries and from their countries to Nigeria?
So far, Nigeria don't want to be a parasite on other countries. We have to build our homes. We have to build our home, rather. Nigeria needs to restructure all its ways, all its policies, all its agenda. Reason being that I was reading one article. Benin is the largest importer of used products, but their population is not more than that of Lagos State. Are they going to be using those products? No. They will be exporting it down to Nigeria. Now, we call ourselves giants of Africa. We can't produce even toothpick. It's a problem. We need to look into this thing until we regain that status of giants of Africa. Then we can now say, okay, let's extend our fellowship to other neighboring countries. With this policy that they want to open border to all African countries, we can still do that. But let us get it right first. If we do not get it right, we will not go anywhere until we do that, until we get there.
All right, until we get there, I quite understand that. But let's also look at this other aspect, which just came to my head right now. You're talking about closing the borders, which has been on for several months now. But encouraging local manufacturers is also one challenge. Do you believe that the federal government has done enough to encourage local manufacturers? We have issues. They complain about power. They complain about, even the economy is not that good, favorable for them to produce and all of that. How do you think that the Nigerian government can better encourage local manufacturers out there to come out and produce? And of course, they know that at the end of the day, their goods will be, purchased by Nigerians, and we run away from this mentality of depending on foreign goods.
Okay, I think the issue we're having is we have developed a kind of system, as Nigerians, because of the situation we had, find ourselves today. The problem is not more on the government. The problem is more on our people. It's more on our people in the sense that a lot of people don't believe in what we produce. You know, it's one thing you producing something, it's another thing you getting patronage for it.
I hear people say a lot that they prefer foreign rice to local rice, foreign this, foreign to local this.
You go to places and you tell them this thing is locally made, and they will just look at it because it's not from China, it's not from US, not from. So government is trying on their own part. I know there's government has given opportunity to farmers, to obtain loans from CBN, and part of those, you see, the issue of power that we're talking about. We still have companies that still operate in this country. They know how they go about those things, how they get power. Because why? When they produce, they still get, something out of it to source for power, source for some of those things that will aid production. So, but in a situation where even you have power, you have everything, government will provide everything for you, but the patronage is not there. So what's the essence? So I think the what government, I expect government to do is to look for a way to sensitize the people, and to see the need why they should patronize, locally made goods, locally made products. I was so sad when I read that the production of rice even began in 15th century in Niger Delta.
Yeah.
When I look at it, I said, wow. And look at where we are today. Nigeria is still third in Africa when it comes to production of rice. And it's not that we don't have climate that is not friendly enough to grow all those things. We have it. But because our people are not encouraging. See, there's little government can do. God can give you the opportunity to produce, provide light, water, and but what about you? You go to the market. Somebody told me one of our lecturers then was telling us that in the early 80s they went to starch production. That they just discovered that the white men then, the Lebanese and the Chinese, always have their way of smuggling all those things in, and it's okay. And they've invested a lot in that business. They have a very big farm, of cassava plantation and the like. But at the end of the day, the starch is not selling. So, okay, what do we do? Let's convert this into fufu, and start producing odorless fufu. That also, okay, with this, I think at least we can break.
Make their money back.
Not just make it, we can break even. So that at least we won't waste all that we invested.
Yeah.
But when they go to the market, the people were saying, this technology fufu, odorless fufu.
So that becomes an issue, how to really channel the mentality of the Nigerian to actually do better in terms of purchasing made in Nigeria. We'll get to talk more about a few more ideas and topics that are coming to my head right now, but we'll do that right after this break. Don't go anywhere, viewers. We'll be right back.
Slavery is an evil practice abolished all over the world over 200 years ago. But today, human traffickers are selling human beings as slaves in Africa. It is your responsibility to make sure that you and the people you know do not fall into slavery. Don't believe fake promises of jobs abroad.
People went to say Libya, Italy no use you when they carry me on top water. 4 days now they lock me for inside house, no food, no water. I nearly die. Now God, when me heaven and earth, now save me. If you get 1 naira for Nigeria, you get junior one, you say you no get papa, you no get mama, that make you come out. I beg go they do farm work. You better pass person when enter road.
Don't accept to travel to Europe through the Sahara Desert. You may be walking into slavery. Don't be a slave.
This is a public service announcement brought to you by NTA.
Many thanks for rejoining us on the program. Well, before we went on that break, Martins and Deltimi, we've talked at length, but I want to also, let's quickly talk about some other issues now. Some people are saying that this is an illegal move. I mean, do you see anything illegal in what the government is doing?
I think this is funny.
Yeah.
Why I say it's funny is because we don't have the statistics of people saying
that.
So I think the statistics will determine if it's legal. You know why? I think why people have right to say anything, especially when it comes to border issues, because there's border control policy. Some of these policies, has to do with more than a country. It's not just about, because Nigeria not just share border with itself. Nigeria share border with other countries. Understand? So I think why some people were saying, but people should also look at it from this way. When government in 2015 said that importation of food like rice to Nigeria is illegal, now what did they do about it? They allowed their people to keep smuggling those things down to Nigeria here without doing anything about it. I expect them then to have at least maybe call for a round table talk and see how they can review some of those things. But nothing was done. So now, when government now took a decisive step to ensure that what they meant in 2015 is not just a mere talk, that they want to restrict the movement of certain products, certain goods. So this country, these people are shouting. So it's not an issue. It is, you can't. There's nothing you want to do. Understand that people will not react. Either positive.
Yeah, it is actually expected that any policies will be countered by some set of people. We only have few Nigerians that will look into issues objectively. Others only consider their self-interest before they put forward their own judgment. It is bound to happen that people will criticize that. But we need to be objective at this juncture, that we are not the only country that will be doing this thing for the first time. Many countries have done that before. China has done that before. Ditto to other countries like that. And we can see where they are presently. We need to consider this as a policy that will assist the future of this country. We shouldn't be looking into what about other countries. We have to consider ourselves first. I said, when fire is burning you and your child, you have to consider yourself first, because you won't be able to protect your child if you are still under pain. And that we have to consider ourselves first, and before looking into what others will say. And we know that many of them, they have done a lot of things that are unspeakable in terms of protecting their own people's interest. We shouldn't be considering their interest against our own people's interest. We need to consider our people's interest and know, yet our people might be saying a lot of things. It's not good. It's going to affect people that are exporting goods. How many of our people are exporting goods? We have more of local producers than those people that are exporting goods. And more so, what we are eating in this country, what we are using in this country is not yet enough for us. Let it be enough. Cosmetics, pharmaceutical products, foods, and etc. They are not yet enough for us. Let it be enough, then we'll start exporting it outside.
And I also believe that it's a very strong point the government is making, as it is committed to diversifying the Nigerian economy. Mm-hmm. But lastly, we were really out of time. I just wanted you to give me some of your last thoughts on this. Going forward, I'm sure someone like Jawasime would want the policy to continue even beyond 2020.
Of course.
So your last words on this issue.
Yes, I think what Nigerians should be concerned about is the positive side of it, which is the benefit that we are going to get from this.
And building self-sufficiency.
Yes, because one, you see, it's so unfortunate that people don't know, especially because it affects a staple food. That's why people are complaining. If it's not about rice, I'm sure many Nigerians will just look away. Yes, but what about other drugs? We see in this country, there was a time I saw on the internet where what they call this plastic rice were imported to Nigeria. Plastic rice. People are not even considering their health. No, this policy is it should be welcomed by all. Looking at the benefit, looking at how it will make us even to think creatively as people, You know, by the time you have problem, okay, now the border is closed. What can we do differently to ensure that our people will not suffer?
Are better for it at the end of the day. Martins, I would have loved to take your thoughts, but we're really out of time. I would like you to thank both of you gentlemen for coming on the program today, and thank you for sharing your thoughts with us.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And that's the much we can take on the program today. And of course, we have been discussing the border closure and some of the issues arising from that. But as my guests have discussed, of course, it is really about putting Nigeria first. I think that's the way we should put it, and ensuring that we are self-sufficient, not just in food production, but in also other areas of commercial activities. Many thanks for joining us on the program today, and do make sure that you make it a date with us next week as we bring another fresh and interesting episode. Good evening.